the evils of knowledge and signs of the learned man of the hereafter. We have enumerated the excellence of knowledge and learned men, but a great warning has come about the dishonest learned men. For this reason, one should know the differences of learned men of this world and the learned men of the hereafter. What I mean by the learned men of this world is that their objective of learning is to live in ease and comfort and to get honor and prestige from the people. The Prophet said, the most severely punished amongst the day of judgment will be a learned man who God has not blessed on account of his knowledge. The Prophet said, nobody can be learned unless put his learning into practice. He said, knowledge is of two kinds, knowledge by the tongue, which is open proof of God for the children of Adam, and the science of the soul, which is useful. He said, in latter days there will be ignorant worshippers and sinning learned men. He said, don't acquire knowledge to boast over the learned, nor dispute with the ignorant and gain popularity among the people. He who does this will go to hell. He said, he who conceals his knowledge will be given by God a bridle of fire. He said, I fear most for one who appears as Antichrist than Antichrist himself. Someone asked him, who is he? He said, I fear most for the misguided leaders. He said, he whose knowledge is great but guidance is less is away from God. Jesus Christ said, how can you guide the night traveler along the right way when you yourself are perplexed? These and other traditions show that learned men face eternal happiness or eternal condemnation. Sayings of wise men. Hazrat Usman said, I fear most for this nation the hypocritic learned men. People asked, how can a hypocrite be a learned man? He replied, he has verbal knowledge, but his mind and his actions are ignorant. Hazrat Hasan al-Basri said, don't be included within these people who are learned in wisdom and knowledge, but are equal to the ignorant in action. Khalid bin Ahmad said, there are four kinds of men. One who has real knowledge and knows what he knows. He is a real learned man. 2. One who has knowledge but he does not know what he knows. Be careful of him. 3. One who has no knowledge and knows that he does not know. Such a man is fit to be guided, so you need to guide him. 4. One who has no knowledge and does not know what he knows not. Leave him alone. Ibn Mubarak said, a man is learned till he searches for knowledge. When he thinks that he has knowledge, he becomes ignorant. Hazrat Hasan said, death of the heart is the punishment of the learned man. The death of the heart is the search of the world with the actions of the hereafter. A poet said, woe unto you who buys misguidance in lieu of guidance. Woe more to one who buys the world in lieu of the hereafter. Woe still more to one who fosters irreligion in lieu of religion. The Prophet said regarding a wicked learned man, some learned man will suffer such intense agonies of torture that the inmates of hell will seek refuge on seeing their torture. They are the wicked learned men. The Prophet said, on the resurrection day a learned man will be brought and will be thrown into hell. His bowels will gush forth and he will roam with his bowels as the donkey moves around a milestone. The inmates of hell will move along with him and ask, what is the matter with you? He will reply, I used to enjoin people to do good, but I was not myself accustomed to do it. I used to prohibit them evil, but I myself used to do it. God says the hypocrites will remain in the lowest abyss of hell. 44:144, as they refuse to accept the truth after they acquired knowledge. There is a story of Balaam al-Bawra, about whom the Quran says, narrate to them the story of one to whom I revealed my signs. He rejected them. So the devil followed him and he became one of those who were misguided. He is therefore like a dog which rolls out its tongue whether you chase it or leave it alone. That is 7:175. This has been said about the wicked learned man. Balaam also got God's book, but he kept himself busy in worldly affairs and was likened to a dog. Jesus Christ said, The wicked learned man is like a rock which has fallen into a source of a stream. It neither absorbs any water itself nor permits it to flow and reach the plants. The wicked learned man is also like pipes which come out of the garden full of stenchy smell, as it got graves of dead men. If outer part is cultivated but its inner part is full of dead man's bones. These traditions and historical narratives show that the learned man who is given to lust and worldly love will be disgraced and put to endless torture, and one who is a learned man of the hereafter will get salvation and gain nearness to God. Signs of learned men of the hereafter. There are many signs of learned men of the hereafter. Number 1, he does not seek the world by his learning. He considers the world as insignificant and the hereafter as great and everlasting. He considers this world and the next world as diametrically opposite to each other, like two hostile friends of a man, or like two co-wives. If one friend or a co-wife is pleased, the other or co-wife is displeased. The two worlds are like two scales of a balance. The lower one falls and the upper one rises higher. Or they are like the east and the west. The more one advances towards the east, the further he goes from the west. Or the two worlds are like two pitchers, one is full and the other is empty. The more you pour water into the full pitcher, into the empty one, the more the full pitcher will become less and the empty one with more water. There is defect in the intellect of a man who has not come to know that happiness of this world will soon pass away, as this matter has been established as true by veritable signs and experiences. He who does not recognize the grave nature and stability of the next world is an unbeliever bereft of faith. He who does not consider this world and the next world as opposed to each other does not know that the religion of the prophets and does not believe the Quran from the first to the last. Such a learned man is not included within the category of learned men of the hereafter. He who knows these things but does not love the next world more than the love for this world is in the hands of the devil. God said in the scripture of David, "If any learned man loves his passion more than his love for myself, my treatment with him is that I deprive him of the pleasure of communion with me." O David, don't take the message of God to such learned men. The world captivated him, and he will turn you from my love. Such a man is a robber in the pathway of my servants. When you see such a man who searches me, he is my true servant. O David, I write one as a man of sound judgment who flees towards me. I will never punish such a person. For this reason, Hassan al-Basri said, "Death of the heart is the punishment of the learned man, and the death of the heart means search of this world in exchange for the actions of the next world." Hazrat Ihya bin Muaz said, "When the world is sought by learning and wisdom, this light goes gradually." Hazrat Sa'id bin Musayyib said, "When you see a learned man frequenting the house of the rulers, he is a robber." Hazrat Omar said, "When you see a learned man addicted to this world, disregard him for the sake of your religion, because every learned man is addicted to his object of love." The same Sahal Tastari said, "Every branch of learning is worldly except for the learning of religion, which, if put into practice, is next worldly. Every action without sincerity is fruitless." He also said, "All are dead except for the learned. All learned men are in the state of stupefaction except those who translate their learning into actions. All learned men who translate their learnings into practice are in some error except those who are sincere. Those learned men who are sincere are in fear till they come to know their ultimate end is good." Jesus Christ said, "How can a man be counted as a learned man who persists in the pathways of this world, although his journey is towards the next world?" The Prophet said, "He who searches learning in which there is pleasure of God, but by which he seeks worldly honor, he will not get fragrance of paradise on the day of judgment. God says of the dishonest learned men, they devour this world in lieu of learning. He described the learned men of the hereafter as God-fearing and given to asceticism. God says, regarding the learned men of this world, God took oath from the people of the book that they would disclose it to the people and would not conceal it, but they threw it behind their back and sold it for a small price. 3:184. God says regarding the learned men of the next world, there are such men amongst the people of the book who believe in what has been revealed to them and what has been revealed to you. They don't sell the verses of God for a small price. Their reward is near their Lord. 3:198. The prophet said, God sent revelation to a people, those who learn jurisprudence, for an object other than that of religion, and those who search the world with the actions of the next world are like those who wear the dress of goatskin before the people, but whose hearts are like raving wolves. Their tongues are sweeter than honey, but their hearts are more bitter than colocynths. They deceive me and scorn me. I will create such a calamity for them, which will perplex even the patient. The prophet said, the learned men of my followers are of two kinds. God gives one kind of learning, which they distribute amongst the people, and for which they do not covet anything, and they do not sell it from a small price. The birds in the horizon, the fishes in the water, all animals in the world, invoke blessings for them. They will come to God being honored on resurrection day, and they will get the company of the prophets. God gives learning of another kind of men, but they are miser to distribute it to people. They take wealth in exchange and sell it for a small price. Such people will be brought on the resurrection day with bridles of fire, and they will raise up shrieks before all the creatures. It will be proclaimed, they are children of so and so. God gave them learning, but they were miser in distributing it to the people, and took a small price in lieu thereof, and property in exchange. Thus they will be punished till God finishes the judgment of account. A more severe punishment will be meted out to the following kind of people. A certain man was a servant of prophet Moses. He went around saying, Moses, the chosen man of God, told me this. Moses, the confidant of God, told me this. Moses, the intimate friend of God, told me this. Saying these things, he became rich and then disappeared. Moses searched for him, but his whereabouts were not found. Sometime after, a man came to Moses with a pig in his rope tied to his neck. Moses said to him, do you know such a such person? He said, yes, he is this pig. Moses said to him, O Lord, turn him into his former position. I shall ask him about his condition. God revealed to him, if you remember me with what Adam and his successor remember me, I will not accept your invocation. I shall inform you how he was changed to this condition. He searched for the world in lieu of religion. A more severe narration was narrated by Muaz bin Jabal to the effect that the Prophet had said, one danger of learned man is that he would prefer talking than hearing, as there is ornamentation and exaggeration in his speech. A speaker is not free from his faults, but there is safety and wisdom in silence. There is such a man amongst the learned men who guards his learning but does not like to communicate it to others. Such a learned man is in the first stage of hell. There is such a man amongst the learned who is a king in learning. In another word, if any objection is raised against learning, he becomes angry. He is in the second stage of hell. There is such a man amongst the learned who broadcasts his learning and narrates traditions to the rich and does not do it for those who are in need of them. Such a learned man is in the third stage of hell. There is such a man amongst the learned who remains busy with legal decisions and commits mistakes and remains satisfied with one who does divine service. Such a learned man is in the fourth stage of hell. There is such a man amongst the learned who delivers lectures quoting the sayings of the Jews and the Christians to show his learning. Such a learned man is in the fifth stage of hell. There is such a man amongst the learned who delivers lectures with pride and self-conceit and considers his speech as good, and when any other man delivers his lectures, he sneers at him. Such a learned man is in the 7th stage of hell. There is in Hadith, if a man is praised so much that it fills up what is between the east and the west, it is not valuable to God, even like the wing of a mosquito. The Prophet said, don't sit with every learned man, sit with learned man who call towards 5 matters: towards the faith from doubt, sincerity from show, modesty from pride, love from enmity, and asceticism from worldliness. Jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.